The Huntsman by Edward Lowbury. So this is also a poem which is based on the theme of humor. But where is humor in this poem? It looks like a story, a narrative about a huntsman. Kagwa hunted the lion through bush and forest, went his spear. So Kagwa is not a normal, simple, common huntsman, right? He's a very brave huntsman because he's a huntsman who hunted lions. So, as a brave huntsman who hunted lions, he went in the forest very bravely with a spear. One day he found something very unusual. What was it? A skull of a man. And then, and said to it, the huntsman was able to talk to it. How did you come here? Maybe the huntsman just asked, how did you come here? But the skull opened the mouth and answered, talking brought me here. Right? So still, Kagwa could not understand the meaning. How can talking bring you here? He should have thought about it in detail. So when you talk too much, sometimes bad things can happen. Maybe that's why this man might have died, and today the skull and the ghost are here. Kakwa hurried home, went to the king's shower and spoke. In the forest I found a talking skull. Now Kakwa could not keep this as a secret. He did not only want to tell it to the family members, rather he wanted to tell it to the highest authority in the country. Probably he wanted to get some treasure, some money, some presents. When the king learned this, the king was silent. Then he said slowly, never since I was born of my mother have I seen or heard of a skull which spoke. I have never seen or heard such a thing. The king could not believe it. The king called out his guards. Two of you now go with him and find this talking skull. The king said the guards, okay, go and see whether this is correct, whether this is true. But if his tale is a lie and the skull speaks no word, then Kagwa himself must die. Then the king said, okay, if this man is telling a lie to get presents from me, probably he should die. They rode into the forest for days and nights. They found nothing. At last they saw the skull. Kagwal said to it, how did you come here? The skull said nothing. Kagwa implored or requested. But the skull said nothing. Now what happened? Right? When they somehow finally found the skull. And then Kagwa said, how did you come? But the skull didn't talk. Kagwa requested. Poor Kagwa, he did not get an answer. So what does the writer try to say us? We should not trust anyone easily. The guard said, kneel down. They killed him with sword and spear. Then the skull opened its mouth. Huntsman, how did you come here? And the dead man answered, talking brought me here. When Kakwa was killed, right? The dead man, huntsman, from the huntsman, the skull asked. The skull opened the mouth and asked, huntsman, how did you come? Very ironical, like laughing at him. And Kagwa, now he's dead. He answered with the same sentence. Talking brought me here, too much talking, right? So like that, through this poem, the poet refers to the fact that silence is golden. I mean, we should not talk always too much unnecessarily, and we should be careful with whom are we talking. And it is loads better than talking unnecessarily, right? And also, I mean, like in other words, it's better than talking unnecessarily, right? And in addition, we have to be very careful in talking to people with much power. Otherwise, we may have to face dire or very bad circumstances. The huntsman in the poem seems to be a very brave fellow who hunts lions, but when he saw the talking skull, he rushed to reveal it to the king. And that cannot be deemed or seen as a very intelligent task. The reason is finally that action itself brought tragedy and death to his life unnecessarily. So the sense of the poem is too much talking can bring very big disasters or unwise, not thinking and talking in an unwise way can bring disasters. So throughout the poem, we see as themes humor, human weaknesses also. And techniques wise, we see the use of a folklore, a narrative, simple language, conversational tone, dialogue, symbolism. Kagwa symbolizes foolish, talkative men, visual images. And you can discuss and answer this question. Before speaking or taking a decision, it is important to think twice. Otherwise, there can be negative results. How does the poet bring out this? What are the keywords? You can actually underline the whole quotation. Before speaking or taking a decision, it's important to think twice. Otherwise, there can be negative results. And then underline how. Quotation and how are the keywords here because the whole quotation is very important. Right. So, what is the example that is used by the writer to prove that? There is this man who does not think but just acts upon impulse. He sees something, he believes in it, he doesn't think about it much, he quickly runs to the king and says, he doesn't think twice, and so many negative results come. The king does not believe him, the king does not send him out. The king does not give him presents. The king sends him with guards. With the guards, he has to search for the skull. The skull does not talk. Kagwa has to die. So many negative results. Finally, only repentance. Right? So, like that, through that incident, the writer brings out this quotation very well. So, talk about that basically in your answer.